Hey legal besties, and welcome to Ladies in Law. I'm your host, Michaela Dixon, and today we have Back by Popular Demand for part 2, if you don't mind introducing yourself.
Jennifer Gardner, is it part 2 or part 3?
You know what? I think I just want to say like part infinity because I don't ever want there to be like an end to it. So just, you're back! Yay!
I'm back again! That's
You're
great.
back again.
Yeah.
And it seems like there are a lot of big things happening for you this season. Has anything changed that you want to update us on?
Well, I'm not pregnant.
Big
Let's
things
say
coming.
that. We'll just start no babies. Well, the baby that's coming is a book. I'm going to be... I'm not just pregnant with an idea. I'm just like, when people say big changes, what's coming? Well, I can just tell you it's not that. But I am writing a book, which is very exciting.
So exciting.
And I don't want to share the title just yet, but I've been also getting more and more speaking events booked as a result of these ideas that I'm sharing. And that's really super exciting to me. I'm getting booked on a lot of podcasts, and I'm being asked to appear in person. And it's so refreshing to be speaking publicly and not fighting, right? Just sharing ideas that can help other people. So in the process of going through this evolution of my thought leadership and the ideas that I'm sharing with the world, I've been required to do a lot of really deep reflection on the context for this work. And so I've been doing that deep reflection, and I'm really I'm super busy. Yeah, I got a case, a couple cases continued, one settled, and 2 more coming up this fall. So it's a big time. It's a busy time, but it's a super productive time.
Yeah, I'd say. I think that that's something that's so beautiful about being human is that we are ever evolving and we are ever reformatting. Like, and what I mean by that is like every single day is another day that we get to just progress and expand and learn. And so I think that's so cool about you is that you never feel like married and tied down with the idea that you are creating. You want it to continue to evolve and grow. And the more that you learn, you get to just continue to adapt it. And so I think that's really amazing that like every time we come on here, it's like, okay, what do you have? Because you work so hard on sharing your knowledge and empowering others with your knowledge that it's just like refreshing to be in your orbit.
Oh, wow, Michaela, thank you. Well, I guess that's why I'm still here with talking to you.
I'm so lucky. Okay, so with that, like diving deeper, we've been talking about this amazing framework that you have built. Is there anything happening within that we can kind of start diving into?
Yeah, sure. Well, we can talk really briefly about this event that I hosted less than a week ago. It was called, the Nerve Lab, and it was a story soiree, chapter 1, because it was the very first one. And Anna Kate, your producer, was there, and which was amazing. It was so great to meet her in person. I totally enjoyed having her there and meeting her. And basically what it was a in-person encounter where the tagline for the invitation was, skip the small talk, be brave, and tell stories that matter. And it was designed to give everybody an opportunity to, none of the participants knew each other before they got there. They got to know each other very, very intensely in just 3 hours. And that was the goal. We skipped the small talk. It was very structured. It was designed to create a transformational experience around issues people have around communication. And it was an incredible experience for me. I've hosted these online. I've co-hosted a few offline, but I never hosted my own in person. Never. So I planned it, soup to nuts. And there was more anxiety about it than there was in actually delivering once once the guests started arriving and we actually started doing the thing. It just flowed. It came really naturally and easy to me. And it was an amazing, amazing experience. And it's really marking like a new phase in how I serve quite frankly, because I see it as service.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's truly such a testament to you and the intentionality you put into curating these spaces where people get to show up raw, unauthentic, and in that safe space to open up like that. And I love that that is something that you work towards curating, because I think it's important and necessary, and especially in a world that has become very virtual, which is very convenient in many ways. And also, there's this isolation part where you're not getting that in-person feel, and it's hard to always kind of go there when you're talking to a screen. When you're in person, feeling the energy in that environment, that can really be so conducive to going that extra layer deeper.
You're 100% right. And one of the things that I even mentioned was I'm doing this because people are tired of hiding behind their screens. They can work at home and go days without seeing another human soul. They feel isolated. And what is more important now, more than ever, is the face-to-face, human-to-human connection. And so I'm creating that kind of an event because there's an isolation crisis, as we know. And when I was talking to the people that I invited before I sent over the formal invitation, this is how I sort of was testing the water. I'm thinking of doing this. If I did this, would you be interested? And people were like, yes, I'm so isolated. I would love to. Wow. Yeah. And so that was a huge draw. That was a huge draw. And everybody conceded, as I'm sure Anna Kate will confirm. Everybody said when we were here, we're isolated and we're lonely. And one of the part of the feedback that I got when the entire event was over was how the conversation was so unfiltered and so truthful and very healing. And I really believe that. Well, here we go with the concept of conflict, right? As lawyers, our business is conflict. Our business is conflict, but conflict is very human. Conflict is something, I don't care what you do for work, we all feel it. And we have internal conflicts and we have external conflicts, right? You and I, we're focusing on the external, but we have to do so much internal work around the concept of conflict, even existential conflict, so that we can do the external work. But we sort of gloss over that, a lot of us, unless we're stopped and we have a real issue and we're forced into therapy or we have a breakdown or whatever, we aren't really dealing and addressing that. So that was part of what this event was designed to address, the personal existential fear around communication. And then we told stories. And the topics were curated by me, and they were designed to make people uncomfortable. They were designed intentionally because, long story short, by going through the discomfort, that's how we have the breakthrough.
Yes, absolutely. And so what made you want to do this? And how did you know how to do it?
Oh, that's two great questions, right? You always ask the best questions. What?
Thank you. I just love talking to you.
Well, I love talking to you. You make it so easy. Let's start with what made me want to do this. I did this originally as part of the Power Lab. It started during the pandemic, where I was teaching the influence amplifier method and I was giving people a chance to practice. But we never were practicing the actual techniques. We just were sharing vulnerable truths online with each other. But that was enough. And I knew I was onto something because people wouldn't get off the Zooms. They would hang around. They'd want to hang for like an hour or so. Similar thing happened the other night. People didn't leave until more than an hour after the event was officially over because I had a time frame. It was choreographed. It was timed. It was very deliberate, right? Which was another thing I had to do, which I've never done before. I did it though, and it was really, really great. And people need to have the rules and a sense of, okay, this is the structure, because that helps create the psychological safety in which they can share themselves and have that experience. So anyway, when I was doing these online during the pandemic, they were extremely effective. I was paid to do them, in fact. People paid me and they loved it. They loved being there. And I served all kinds of people. I had an acting coach in there. I had people from the nonprofit world in there. I had a couple lawyers in there. I had business owners in there. And then me, who does a little bit of all of that. And which is, where most of these people found out about me. And then, strangers from the internet, because I ran some ads. And I always had in the back of my mind, I think I want to do these kinds of events in person. And I just never made the time. And don't I don't know what the motivating force was for me to just say, okay, I'm just going to do it. But
Yeah.
the force struck me. I set the date. This is very interesting. I set the date, and 3 weeks later, we had a story soiree, and Google already indexed me as being a executive coach, communication strategist, and lawyer associated with the Nerve Lab before I even reserved the domain. And yes, I reserved the domain.
Good.
Yeah, which is a whole
Wow.
other story. Google,
Yeah.
like, already, like, AI, their AI already, like, less than
Yeah.
48 hours after I gave
That's
the event.
wild.
I thought, that's wild. But that's a whole other
Wow.
conversation about how that happened. But it was very confirming.
Yeah, I bet. And so then, so you have this idea, you put it into practice. How do you know? I mean, even just you talking about like, you talk and I'm just like, oh, that makes so much sense to my brain because even just creating the time constraint, the timeline. I think sometimes, I mean, our mind is such a barrier, right? Especially when we're going into an event that is an unknown. It's like, okay, well, how long is this going to be? How much time do I have to go into this? What about that? Like all of the things you kind of preempted the questions that would also be that barrier to be able to kind of break down. Like, how do you know how to do this?
I read books. What a
Awesome.
concept.
Yeah, I know. Truly.
Actually, I was thinking earlier this year that maybe I need to get training in how to facilitate and run a workshop. And I looked into that very seriously because there are some people doing some amazing work out there training people to be professional facilitators. And I still may do that. But I thought, that's really a detour from what my focus truly is. Because my focus truly is having effective communication and difficult conversations in high stakes situations under pressure. And seeing the conflict through by being more persuasive and influential, or resolving the conflict by being an effective negotiator. So it's all, and it's kind of like strategic comms with many tentacles, right? Kind of like an octopus with many tentacles. And also to get the facilitation certification, it was going to take a huge time commitment. I thought, I don't think I want to spend my time doing that. I think if I read enough books and I go get some sources, I can figure out how to facilitate. And sure enough, I did. So I read 2 books. Let me share one of them with you.
Yes, please.
My desk looks like a tornado hit it because it did. It's called Work.
I get
So
it.
this is basically written by Brad McLean, who worked with NASA. In fact, he's an executive coach and he leads and designs transformational experience. He did it for the astronaut program. And in fact, well, I'll just leave it at that. You guys can research who he is. He's a fascinating, fascinating guy. And he wrote this book. Boy, is it rich. And it confirmed what I sort of knew about my own experience undergoing transformational experiences all the time. Like, what are the components? What actually must an individual experience in order to have an actual change in their life? And I can't imagine anybody being better at designing this than someone who has to work with the mindset of astronauts. Because it's one thing to say that you're courageous, but wow, they're stepping into that spaceship capsule and they don't really know, is there going to be a tragedy? Am I going to return? And the kind of communication and leadership and teamwork. And yes, of course, when you're in cramped enclosure for like 2 weeks or however long it is, like we just saw with Artemis, there's going to be conflict. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be challenging, right? And yet you have to have the skill set to navigate that. For any of us to assume that this happens naturally without training and practice is naive, to say the least. So I read his book. Another one that I read that's right behind me on my shelf that even has my little itty bitty book light attached to it still.
Oh, I love that.
So I can read at night. The Art of the Gathering, How We Meet and Why It Matters by Priya Parker. And then I also did like some online research about people who plan these things. And I researched facilitation and workshops, and I just surrounded myself and marinated myself in as much material as I had time to marinate myself in. I read these books cover to cover, and then I felt, okay, I can do this.
That's so badass. It's just like that's amazing. It's like I don't have time for this, but I'm going to teach myself. And I
I'm going
like
to teach
that's
myself.
so cool. And also just that you care so deeply to create that environment. You know, it's not just like I'm going to wing it. We'll see what happens. No, like this was such a long time in the making, and you wanted to do it not just to do it, but to do it right and in a
Yeah.
transformational way.
Yeah. And I think my
Powerful.
participants, yeah, thank you. Thank you for that reflection. That's very, thank you. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone who was there, I think had a really powerful experience based on the feedback that I got in the days following the event. They were like, wow, they weren't expecting that. But it just shows you what's possible for us as humans when we are willing to be vulnerable, when we're willing to be honest, when we're willing to do uncomfortable things, when we're willing to share ourselves openly with other humans. It was just beautiful for me to witness, and of course I participated. There were two parts to the program. The first part
Mhm.
I led, the second part I led as well, but and I went first by telling my own story, and I came in at just under 10 minutes. Everybody got maximum 10 minutes. Only one person went over. I came over.
Wow.
I finished in 10 minutes, like 10 seconds. I was like, that's good, that's good.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get lost in it too when you're
Oh yeah.
there. So like it also takes like that certain level of like intentionality with the words you're choosing and how deep you're going into this area where maybe this is where I should go deeper in the story. Like all of those kind of like wheel grinders. Is that what those are called? The grinding
Yeah.
wheels. When you're
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Thank you. I'm like I can picture it in my
I
head, but
have
I
one on
don't
my
even know.
phone.
Yeah, yes, yeah, yeah. It's like all of those things where you're like trying to kind of like sort through it in real time.
Exactly. Exactly.
Wow. I think like what we're talking about a lot too is what to do in different types of conflicts.
Hmm.
And that goes towards too that this framework that we have been talking about, where I know that we have like three more categories. Do we want to kind of dive into those a little bit?
Yeah, let's do that. Where did I forget? Where did we leave off? We got as far as,
Yes, watch your language was what
oh yeah.
we
Oh,
finished.
perfect.
So then
Perfect.
next would be bring the drama.
Actually, we missed one. Did I talk about triggering emotion?
I don't know that we talked about that.
Okay.
I would love to talk about that.
Yeah, because drama and emotion, they're kind of related, but I broke them up because they're two very weighty topics. And of course, we're just
Yeah.
hitting the highlights for purposes of this conversation.
Right.
But people decide things based on emotion. Triggering emotions is what makes a great political campaign. It's what makes a great ad campaign. It's what makes a great legal opening statement, closing argument. It's even cross examination, direct examination, every element of a trial to the extent that you can understand what kind of emotions your audience needs to feel
Mm,
and how to elicit the right testimony from a witness in order to get them to feel that. I mean, that's a huge part of the work I do in getting ready for a trial. I'm sure you do too.
absolutely. Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the studies really show that the brain is more easily swayed based on emotion. Now, a lot of us, we go into these situations and we think we need to just drill down on being packing our presentations full of drama and being very logical and scientific and detached emotionally in how we present our ideas, but that's not how it works. That's not the most effective way of going about it. And I think for women, I think most of your audience is your listeners are probably women.
Hmm.
I just want to tell them that if they feel sensitive and if they feel like they feel things, that is a superpower. It's something to learn how to work with rather than to make it mean something that simply isn't true. It's a huge advantage. And the best leaders, the most effective leaders, because effective leaders aren't necessarily the quote unquote best, but they know how to trigger that kind of emotion. So I just mentioned that's like the big picture about triggering emotion. It's really
Hmm.
important to know that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's so refreshing to hear because I know from my own experience and from a lot of like women I have spoken to, we're told often to just like, okay, put the emotions aside. put the emotions aside. Let's think logically. And it's like, but I think being a human being and being able to relate on that level is so needed. And that's why I want to be in this profession, is because I care deeply. I don't want ever want to not care deeply.
I know. And I love that about you. I love how you have that passion and compassion and empathy, and how sensitive you are, and how you aren't afraid to show that side of yourself. It's refreshing.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
And it's beautiful.
Thank you. It's funny when you don't really know how badly you need to hear something until you hear it. And thank you. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. I mean it sincerely, 100%. I mean, yeah, we need to hear that. We need to have that reinforced in us. We assume that that's the part of ourselves that we have to squish down and suppress, but that's exactly what makes us powerful. And the men who know how to use it strategically, they're super powerful. Not always in a great way, right? They abuse that power regularly. I mean, that's history.
Yeah. Is that something that you feel like you still are experiencing in your line of work?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like all the time. Even at my level of, years in practice. In fact, and the research supports this too. Here's the bad news. The more competent we appear, the more experience we have, the more we're going to trigger the bullies. They're going to feel like they have something to prove. And then we're going to unleash the deranged chatbots. It's 2026. We're going to trigger the AI slop coming at us like majorly garbage. Like you just cannot believe it. I'm like, who made this stuff up? This is really great fiction.
This is really great fiction. What do you do in those instances? Because I think sometimes when we are experiencing that bullying, it's hard to not shut down. It's hard to not just like react. Like how do you kind of navigate that space?
You're right. It's very difficult to not react. And I have weeks where I'll say to my paralegals, okay, 85% of my job is emotional regulation this week. That's what I'm being paid to do. I am emotionally regulating. That's what you do. You emotionally regulate. You have to, first of all, emotional regulation is a thing. It's one of the components of emotional intelligence. It's one of the things that most CEOs and leaders have in spades. They know exactly how to speak, how to behave, how to position, how to motivate, how to inspire, how to build trust. And so much of that involves emotional regulation. And don't think for a minute that that is not a skill that you can't learn, and that is not a skill that you can't train and practice. So that is primarily the way that I deal with things. In the last month, I have had so many, well, it's intense because I have several trials coming up, right? So everybody's like wired and stressed and trying to get everything done. But even in the beginning of some of my cases, people are just being, can I say, like, swear words on the show? Anna Kate will bleep it out, I'm sure. Okay. Assholes for no goddamn good reason. Okay.
Yeah.
For no good reason. Because they think they can. They want to throw their weight around. It's like they think that maybe they're going to intimidate me and like make me say, okay, fine. You're right. We submit, we win. It doesn't work like that, So the number one thing that I've had to do is control myself. And one of the ways that I do that is I'll write the email, and I never send an email in the heat of the moment, like in reaction and response to. I will schedule it to go out 12 hours in the future, because there's no reason to respond to someone's false deadlines. That's one way to And, we're so used to scrolling and texting and instantaneous communication. We have to retrain ourselves to slow the F down, right? So I will, these are just like survival strategies for me, just very practical ones. I will schedule the email to go out a later time, and then I'll wait 5, 6, 10 hours. I'll look at it again before the 12-hour mark comes. I'll edit it, I'll tone it down, and then I'll send it. So that's one thing that you can do. Another thing that you can do is have people that you can talk to who share your experiences and will commiserate with you and provide hopefully like a supportive environment, right? For you to share and vent, because going through this alone is really awful and really, really hard.
Absolutely.
There's more and more of us working on our own than ever before. So I just know that there are people out there that need to hear this and that need the support. They need a community where they can share their experiences in a safe place, where they can vent, where they can get support, where they can get feedback, and in order to keep going, because we are fighting wars with words,
With
wars with
words.
words,
Yes.
and
I
wit.
think, and yes, the W's. Wars with wars with words and wit. God, I think that's a new tongue twister.
That's a new one. Wars with words and wit and wisdom.
Oh, okay. Well, you just did that so beautifully.
Alliteration is really good. It's a great like way to watch your language because it's
Yeah.
sticky. It's sticky, right?
Yeah. It's hard to not internalize it when someone is talking down to you, when someone is belittling you. It's hard to not feel like, okay, what am I doing to elicit this? Like, how am I showing up? Am I not respecting myself? And they feel like they have this like, free ride to just kind of like get on that. Like, how am I communicating? And do I not seem as confident in what I'm saying? Because that's the part I can control, right? Is the way that I'm showing up. But so much of it is, it doesn't matter what I say or how I say it, and not in a like free pass to say whatever I want and be like reckless, but that is that person's view. And there are things that I can do that I want to be proud of and in alignment with who I want to show up as, but I can't control how someone is going to talk to me.
Yeah, I know. And that's for me the most unnerving thing about it, because I feel so helpless. I feel like
Yes.
I'm just me. I'm just who I am. I happen to be a female, and you're so much of the way that you're reacting to me is based solely on that, and it's something I can't control, and it doesn't really matter in this situation, yet you're making it matter. And the hurt that I feel by being treated unfairly simply because of that is really profound. And what I think your audience needs to understand is that you're still going to feel that. It still stings. I know I don't make it mean any longer like I did when I was younger, that I'm not cut out for this work. In fact, I believe I'm especially cut out for this work because of my ability to feel that, right? It's pain, and pain and fear is what drives all of these problems that you and I are called upon to solve as advocates, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's so interesting, because in the beginning, I felt these things so deeply, and I still feel them. Like, they still don't feel great. But there were definitely times where I was like, am I cut out for this? Am I always going to be talked to like this? Can I handle being talked to like this for the rest of my life? Because it hurts. And then I go into this spiral of, am I the best advocate for my clients if I'm not being taken seriously, or if I'm being talked down to? Could there be someone that would demand more for them? And not that I'm not demanding enough. It's that I'm not being heard. I'm being belittled, and I'm not being respected. Is there someone better for that? Do they deserve better? So hearing you say that feels very affirming, that I went down that path, but exactly like you, it's like, no, like that's exactly the kind, like I want to be the advocate that wants the best for my client. My client deserves someone that is going to zealously advocate for them. And if that means that, I have my managing partner on my team. His name is Greg Jackson, and he has been like the biggest ally resource for me in these moments when I had really hard depositions where I just felt so belittled. I could call him and talk to him. And in moments when he saw emails, he could come to my defense and be like, no, you will respect her. You will do these things. And so to have that ally, or someone that you can also reach out to, that sees it and doesn't condone it or allow it, is also huge, which kind of goes to what you're talking about with like, don't be alone with it.
Yeah, don't be alone with that. And boy, are you lucky that you have him. What a gift.
Yes.
What a gift. I didn't have that. I had anything but that for the very beginning of my career. It got better in the last firm that I was at. And then, I've had like 3 mentors in 3 decades, and one of them passed away suddenly last week. And ironically, and he just believed in me. And, whenever these situations would come up, you know what he would tell me? He would say, don't get emotional, which I kind of disagree with. He would say, be intentional. You're smarter than that. That was the part I agree with. Be intentional. So for me, I take that and I translate it as, I'm going to be intentional about how I use my emotions. Let them underestimate me. Let them bully me. Let them think that they can get over on me. But here's something that relates to what you just said. Sometimes I think we have to take our egos out of it and make the decision that there can be a different lawyer who would be more effective given the bias and the extent of the bias of our opponents.
Yes.
I mean, I recently had to make that very difficult decision. No ego at all. It's just, I had to look at, am I the right fit for this client, given her needs and her requirements and what we're dealing with? It's not fun to admit that, but I think it's true. It's something that we need to consider. And I think that we have a duty to our clients to consider that and to deal with that very openly. What's very interesting is by my willingness to share that candidly with my client, I didn't think I was conceding. Like, this is pre-litigation. If I was in litigation, I'd be like, game on, buddy, because I know how to position things in writing. I don't have to say a word and I will win on my papers. It happens over and over and over again because you give them enough rope, they will always hang themselves in writing. Right. Every single time. But here we were negotiating a very complex corporate situation. And I said to my client, I said, I think we need backup. So we interviewed backup together. And in each case, in these large firms, the men that we interviewed said, Jennifer's not going anywhere. Jennifer's the silver bullet if this case goes to court. And do not get rid of Jennifer. So they understood and respected the value that I brought. And they both acknowledged the fact that that most litigators wouldn't concede that they had that kind of an issue and that it wasn't necessarily going to serve the client. So I think sometimes admitting that there are these inequities are not going to go away, and being strategic because of that and in spite of that is what we need to do. It's next level. And I didn't lose a client by suggesting that. I created new business allies. I created a stronger position for my client because we have more brain and advocacy power behind us. I have more client loyalty, and I'm not out of a job. I mean, I have more business than I know what to do with. I'm very blessed, but there's a lesson in that. You know what I'm saying? There's a lesson. Absolutely. There's something to be learned. And sometimes it's okay to call in backup. Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes that's the best you can do. Sometimes that's what you have to do.
Absolutely. And I think that goes to why you are such an incredible advocate too, is that it's not about you. Where it's like you are allowed to feel all of the things. And at the end of the day, we are zealously advocating for our client and what is in their best interest. Yeah. And so being able to remove yourself, doesn't mean you're not allowed to feel things.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's huge. And especially having that candor with clients, I think it's like we ask them to show up and trust us and be open with us. And it's like that relationship, it's a two-way street. It also depends on what the kind of environment you are creating for them and whether you are also trusting them.
Oh, yeah. But I think for your audience, the biggest takeaway from my experience that I'm sharing quite candidly here is that they shouldn't see it as a failure or that they are somehow less than. I don't think the antelope thinks it's less than an antelope just because they're being stalked by a lion.
Wow. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think we need to really shift that because I spent years thinking I'm not good enough. I can't do this. I'm too sensitive. I'm too introverted. This is not for me. No. What if we shift that and we see it as I'm emotional, I'm introverted, I'm sensitive. My insights and my makeup give me a superpower that I can really use to serve other people in a courtroom. For example, in a courtroom.
Yeah. Wow. And I think that goes to framing, right? Like the way that we are talking to ourselves, especially because it's like, I don't know. I have to remind myself, reframe, reframe that, where like my husband is very good at that for me because I'm like, what if all these things go wrong? And he'll just pause and be like, what if it all goes right?
Yeah.
And I need that to just be like, you're right. Like I worry about all of these bad things, but why aren't I spending any of my brain power going like, okay, but it could be this and the excited parts.
Yeah, exactly. We have to learn to change the conversation that we have with ourselves. I'm not a transformational coach, but I know several of them. And I just am very much aware that the conversation that we have with ourselves forms our beliefs and our identities about what's possible for us.
Yeah.
I mean, I could talk for hours. I have so much going on because my practice is very busy, and I'm being called to show up under a lot of stressful circumstances simultaneously, and it's asking me to expand. And there was a time last week where I was saying, you know what, that's it. I can't take anymore. I don't want to do anymore. I'm going to cancel my event because I just had so many adverse things happening. I was an arbitrator in a private matter for law enforcement that was an intense case. I was in the mornings before I was starting my own trial. I was an advocate for my client. It was like, and now I'm planning an event, and I had, client crises and bullying incidents and a death in my extended family that wiped me out. And I thought, I just can't, it's too much. And then I thought, no, when you want to play a bigger game, you have to take on bigger burdens. And it's a mindset thing. And I just made the decision in that moment of feeling like I was going to collapse, that no, I was just going to power through. That this is doing the thing. This is doing the thing when it gets hard. It's pushing through. These circumstances are always going to happen. It helps to have people that we can, like, you're so fortunate you have someone who supports you. Most of my career I worked alone. I had no one to turn to. And so it really helps to have that community or people that you can turn to say, hey, I'm dealing with this. And they'll say, yeah, I can relate. I'm dealing with something similar. And then you don't feel so alone. And then you don't feel like such a failure or so inadequate, right? And it's the conversation that we have with ourselves, this internal conversation. I can't do it. I'm not meant for this. I'm not good enough. I'm an imposter. What if I fail? What if they think this of me?
Yeah. I remember being so afraid in the beginning to share that I felt less than because I didn't want to have other people look at me like that. And I didn't want to like give voice to that and make it true.
Yeah.
And so I think it was hard to share with other people that like, you know what, this person is treating me this way. Because for some reason I kept just like feeling like it was my fault. And I didn't want others to view me as that less than. But then once I finally felt someone opened up to me about an experience, and I was like, I don't think less of that person at all. In fact, I am so proud of them for sharing that. And I hate that someone made them feel like that because I get to witness how intelligent and caring and all these things. And then I was like, why do I talk to myself different than that? And so I opened up to them, and it was just this very raw feeling of just being like, wow, I feel so seen. I also don't feel like it is my fault. Like it's crazy how just talking to one person and sharing that kind of takes you out of it, even though it's making you feel better.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And we just don't have enough of these opportunities to have those honest, raw conversations and share what's true for us in those moments without being judged. Like, we don't feel psychological safety with a lot of people, with our employers, with our coworkers, often. It's just doesn't exist, but we need it. We really need it to grow.
We really do. And I think that, I mean, I literally could talk to you for like 5 more hours. But I am like very positive that we're going to do more of these. But for this one, you are doing more in-person events, and you are curating these kinds of environments for people to show up and not feel so alone. Can you kind of tell us just more about what is to come, where people can reach out to you to learn more about it?
Yes. Well, how can they reach out to me? They can send me an email. They can call me. My email is jgardner@jgardnerassociates.com, and you'll put it in the show notes so that I'm sure that they can see the correct spelling. They can follow me on Instagram at I am Jennifer B. Gardner. I'm starting to share more and more about my own internal experiences, which is for those of us who are into SEO and want to promote ourselves and grow our businesses, it's non-commoditized content. And it's very, very important because it's not just sharing information, which is a dime a dozen these days. It's personal experience, which is unique to you. And it's helping the search engines index and find us. So it's an AI, more importantly. So it's really it's really important that we start to share our experiences for that reason. But there's the bigger existential reason, which relates to the work that I'm doing and that I'm like expanding. So the story soiree is going to happen again. I'm going to have another one. Yes. And I hope you can come to this one. I know you had a new little 4-legged baby in your family, so you were unable to make the last one, but you got to come to the next one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
the second you tell me the date, it is going to be like Sharpied into my calendar, which means it has to happen.
Sharpied. Okay, great. I hit the Sharpie standard. I love it.
You did.
So I made the Sharpie grade. And then maybe we'll plan some in the future, but these are curated, carefully planned gatherings where there's a purpose, which is to establish a safe, psychologically safe container where we can answer certain questions and tell certain stories. And I mean certain, not just anyone. I'm curating the questions that you're going to answer and the stories that you're going to tell, because they're designed to help transform your experience of sharing something deeply personal and honest, and to help you be in the vulnerable position so that you can build the muscle to be able to communicate like that when it's game time. Right? When everything's on the line, when we have everything to lose, because it's so naive to expect we're going to graduate from school, we're going to step into the arena and we're going to know how to do this. No, it doesn't work like that. Okay. That is a bill of goods that we've been sold. So if you don't get, like, it's so sad that so many lawyers have to practice on their clients for the first time in their first trial. Why don't they get some of this opportunity to just be more comfortable speaking in front of strangers? Right?
Yeah.
They don't get it.
Yeah.
So they're going to get it now.
You're incredible. Thank you so much for the work you do and the space that you create, and for sharing all of your knowledge that you work so hard to attain and educate others with. I mean, you are just such a gift, and I can't thank you enough for being on my podcast, for being my friend, and for just being in this space. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. It's my pleasure, Michaela. I'm so inspired by you. I'm inspired by what you're doing. I'm so happy to see you thriving in your work. And I'm just, as a more senior lawyer to you, I feel like there's really hope for women in the profession. I hope that no one has to go through the adversity that I had to go through. It was such a challenge, and I'm trying to make sense out of that and turn around to something positive and serve. And for me to see you thriving already, you're doing so amazingly well, and to give, to be participating and providing this platform is such a beautiful thing. It's not just a gift that you're giving to lawyers. You're going to give the clients of those lawyers, who are the ones who really need the help, right? The ripple effect that's going to be felt through the public. It's really public service. It's really, big picture, zoom out, 30,000 foot view. This is what you're doing, and it's so important, and you're so good at it. And I'm so inspired by you, and I'm so honored that you call me your friend.
Thank you. I just adore you so much, and I appreciate you and the way that you show up and just who you are and the way you make me feel. It's just so, my cup is so full. It runneth over, truly.
Runneth over. Runneth over. And we could talk forever, but we have to stop because we have clients to serve and things to do.
We do. Thank you for being here. And I can't wait for our next episodes. And thank you all for listening. Until next time.
Thank you, Michaela. Bye, everybody.
Always. Bye. Oh, I just love talking to you so much.
I know. It's insane. Such a love fest.
Hey, legal besties. It's me, Michaela, popping back in to say that is officially the season wrap of season 3. We spent this season talking to the most incredible badass women who are leading by example, who are taking the time and energy to lean into their softness and make others feel like that's okay. And this season has been so powerful and affirming in the sense that we are human beings and we are allowed to show up as we are, and that doesn't make us less than, that doesn't make us a worse advocate. In fact, it's our superpower. We get to lean into that and we get to show up for our clients in the most authentic way. And I adore being in this space with so many women that allow others to feel seen and heard and validated in the way that they decide to show up too, especially in male dominated fields. We get to just be as we are, and that is enough, and it is perfectly perfect and us. And so thank you all for listening, for tuning in, for being a part of this community. I am so proud to have built. And so thank you for everything that you have done and for the way that you guys show up. You guys have allowed this podcast to continue. And so that is season 3, and season 4 will be bigger and better than ever and a little refreshed. So I can't wait for you guys to see what all that has in store. Thank you so much, and until next time, bye.